25 seconds. 20 seconds and counting. T-minus 15 seconds. Guidance is internal. 12, 11, 10, 9. Ignition sequence start. 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. All engine running. Liftoff. We have a liftoff. 32 minutes past the hour. Liftoff on Apollo 11. Tower cleared.
We got a roll program.
Neil Armstrong reporting the roll and pitch program, which puts Apollo 11 on a proper heading.
I think this is the most important hour I have ever been a part of in broadcast. I've done this for 45 years. This is the most important person and hour you can spend.
You gotta do 100 miles. So typically when I walk back and forth with the dogs, I'm going a quarter mile to a half mile each way. So anywhere from a half mile to a mile per walk. I figure if I just do 100 days of this, 200 days even, I'll easily hit 100 miles of walking back. It's about 18 degrees out here. Doesn't feel that cold anymore. Now that you get a day or two with like 20 below, 20 feels fairly warm.
Good God Almighty, I hope you'll find me praising your name no matter what comes. I can't count the times I've called your name some broken night, and you showed up and patched me up like you do every time. I get amnesia, I forget that you keep coming around. Yeah, ain't no way you ever let me down. Good God Almighty, I hope you'll find me praising your name no matter what comes. 'Cause I know where I'd be without your mercy. So I keep praising your name at the top of my lungs. Tell me, is he good? He's good. Tell me, is he God? He's God. He is good God Almighty. You say your love goes on forever, that your mercy never stops. So why would I assume you'll be somebody that you're not? Like sun in the morning, I know you're gonna be there every day. So what on earth could make me be afraid? Good God Almighty, I hope you'll find me praising your name no matter what comes. time to meet the Muppet on the Muppet Show tonight.
It's time to put on makeup. It's time to dress up right. It's time to raise the curtain on the Muppet Show tonight. Why do we always come here? I guess we'll never know. It's like a kind of torture to have to watch the show. But now let's get me started. Why don't you get me started? It's time to get things started on the most sensational, inspirational, celebrational, motivational. This is what we call the Muppet Show. The truth.
Oh, yeah, I would like to ask for a recess.
You can't handle the truth.
I think we've covered this, haven't we?
I don't give a damn what you think you are entitled to. You can't handle the truth. Are we clear, Colonel? You can't handle the truth. You can't handle the truth. Are we clear? You can't handle the truth.
I'm being charged with a crime?
I'm gonna rip the eyes out of your head. You with the wrong Marine.
Ken? Go ahead. Is your computer on now?
Up and running. How do we look? John?
I think we got it, buddy.
Electric cars have a reputation for catching on fire. And when they do, it's nearly impossible to put them out, and they can reignite days after being extinguished.
What did you do? Nothing. I stirred the tanks.
Well, it turns out that 70% of the car corporation heads are saying, hey, we're going to jump off the EV bandwagon for a while.
This is Houston. Say again, please.
Houston, we have a problem.
Deep in my heart, I abhor ya. Can't get food for the kids. Good God, we gonna rock down to Electric Avenue. And then we'll take it higher.
Ready, set, go.
The purpose of this showreel is to provide some real-life examples of lithium battery fires and illustrate the different ways the fires present in the different devices. First, here are some examples of typical smaller device lithium battery fires which have been featured on YouTube and in the news. Mobile phone fires. A standard mobile phone comes with a built-in safety device which will usually switch it off at about 40 degrees centigrade. But if, for example, the phone was left in the sun on a car dashboard, it will continue to heat up until it catches a light.
Ring notice on it. But there's been this doorbell, Generation 2, has been linked to numerous fires throughout the US and Canada.
E-bikes. These can have up to a kilowatt-hour lithium battery. Just like the e-scooter, the fire starts by emitting smoke first. Using a garden hose to spray the battery with water doesn't make any difference to the fire. It just keeps going.
Well below 30 degrees. 83.8 volts. Mode 1. This is so weird. No, I'm good. I think so. She melting. Get an e-bike. They said it'll be fun. What a blast. I'm having fun.
Taking years and years, decades to ramp up. All these other companies, they just jumped on the electric bandwagon. We're going to build them. We're going to build them. Well, guess what?
Is it charging? Not according to the truck. Oh wait, truck's green. Charging start error. And it says isolation test timeout. So, yes, interesting. Interesting, yep, truck went red. So, I'm gonna try all three of these. But, yeah, we definitely something with the isolation test. Could be something frozen in the dispenser would be my guess. That's not allowing it to properly basically make sure that there's no voltage leak, if you will.
We don't have a procedure for that, do we?
You're going to lose a lot in the transfer, Ken.
Yeah, but all we're talking about here is 4 amps.
And we're pulling up to an Electrify America DC fast charger. We're at 28% state of charge. In the cold, we're averaging pretty bad efficiency, 1.3 miles per kilowatt hour here. So we're going to pull up to a DC fast charger. And that would be, oh great, look, isolation test timeout. So they're just all failing.
The sequence looks good. We're just over budget on the amperage.
By how much?
3 or 4 amps.
Is it 3 or 4?
4.
4!
200 kilowatts at this particular one, 500 amps.
Next is a video showing testing of the fire hazard of a 125 kilowatt hour energy storage system comprised of lithium nickel oxide, lithium manganese oxide batteries. The fire smokes for a long time, but once the flames break through, the whole container is destroyed due to propagation of thermal runaway from pack to pack. In China, there was one of these container fires per month last year. Electric vehicle fires can reignite hours, days, or even weeks after being extinguished.
The problem is there's nothing you can do. There's no like trick, like let's unplug, replug, try a different station. There is no alternative other than finding another charging station out there. And so that's why it's just, I think, a total disaster.
Out in the street, out in the street, out in the playground, in the dark side of town. Oh, we gonna run down to Electric Avenue.
Well, guess what? People have to buy them for them to make a profit. And if they don't buy them, down go the electric cars.
We call it regression towards the mean. Sometimes you got to design stuff so stupid people can't hurt themselves.
I want the procedures.
30 seconds and counting. Astronauts report it feels good. T-minus 25 seconds. 20 seconds and counting. T-minus 15 seconds. Guidance is internal. 12, 11, 10, 9. Ignition sequence starts. 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. All engine running. Liftoff. We have a liftoff. 32 minutes.
Good morning, saints, and welcome sinners. This is the Critical Christian Crowd. I'm your laconic lay leader, Lon Linky, live from West Central Minnesota with Margaret Moose. Oh, Margaret didn't come in today. I was a little jealous. Well, the fish on the wall have got a good seat for this one. Well, it's Saturday. It's Saturday. Everyone works on Saturday. Good to see you, chatsters. A few of you slept in a little late this morning, but good to see all of you here. Really, I'm so excited for this this offering here this morning because, you know, I can say I want to do something, but until a greater power steps in and makes it happen, I'm pretty much on my own with not very many successes. The whole point of the matter was I was able to get up with a good Facebook friend for years and years and years, and we finally got to have a conversation together, and it was wonderful. It was really wonderful. Now, do things here the right way this morning on a Saturday, and say thank you, Lord. Thank you for the opportunities. Appreciate the opportunities to have not only fellowship, but edification and encouragement, admonishment, and correction too. That's the Christian life, and when you run into someone that you consider a brother, a friend, it is a blessing from above. So thank you for that, Lord. We appreciate it. And yeah, it's just always nice. Like-minded folks. Now, you've heard me talk about Uncle Drunkle's country cabin before, and the reason it's such a big deal is because he's one of those guys that is completely off-grid. Off-grid. So he provides his own power, provides his own supplement, his foods, his shelter, his clothing, and he's done it quite effectively and quite efficiently. And the reason this is a big deal is, and we chatted, and we'll get to the conversation here very, very soon. The reason we chatted about this was because of the big electric push that we're hearing from the Green New Deal people, the global warming people. Like, I'd say the CC word, the double C word, but I might get a strike if I said something against it. No, I believe in climate change. The climate changes 4 times a year: spring, summer, fall, and winter. The climate changes. And the fact that we're getting tornadoes in the south in December, January, and who knows what in February, right? Yeah, it's changing all right. If you'd stop changing it, there wouldn't be climate change. But anyway, things are going to get interesting. Here in my super blue state, they're already, I mean, their priorities are very simple. They want abortion. They want to be able to kill children as late as 9 months. They also want to legalize marijuana, recreational marijuana. You can already get edible marijuana here in Minnesota, but these are their priorities. Whether you agree with it or not is up to you. You can carry that one to your prayer closet. But they want to, legalize abortion, legalize marijuana. They want to confiscate all the guns. And then there was a new one that Minnesota came out with too. Oh, that's right. Driver's licenses for all illegal aliens, whether they're from outer space, Floatyville, or Mexico, or the few that have their mucklucks on and walk in through Canada. Anyway, we got a mess here in Minnesota, but they're also talking about giving credits for solar powering your home. Well, that should be interesting to see how that works out, because as you'll hear in our conversation, it'd be a great thing if everyone went electric, when everyone had solar power to power your home. So anyway, it's an interesting conversation, and I'm glad you're here, and I hope you enjoy it, and I'm going to get to it straight away, all right? Straight away, and we'll do it with a real fancy moose. By the way, great graphics. Look at there. That's just a super thumbnail. Thank you, Moose. Your Huckleberry. Here is Kevin Kuss, Uncle Drunkle's country cabin, and your stinky old fisherman. Enjoy, everybody. So we're rolling, and we have speed, and we have a very special guest with us here today, Saints. How do I address you? Do I address you as Uncle Drunkle, or Mr. Country Cabin, or Mr. Do I use your real name?
Yeah, Kevin's fine.
Great.
Yep.
Well, this is Mr. Kevin Kuss. Out of parts we're not going to give away, because this is one of the reasons that I've asked him to come on, and he's so willingly accepted, is that he's one of those special off-grid, offline, well, you're not offline, are you?
No, online.
Yeah, online but off-grid. Self-contained, static-breatheth, off-grid realm dweller, Mr. Kevin Kuss. Nice to have you here today, Kevin. Thank you for joining us here at the Critical Christian Crowd. Well, here's the big question before we get to your off-grid living and a quick overview of the who, what, where, when, and why you did all those things. First question: Can all of humanity go electric? Can they go electric?
Yeah, and I think we're already doing it with everything but our homes. You know, and we're doing the homes, we're just not doing it ourselves. You know, we're all electric already.
Okay, I got you. On a wide scale, we're all electric.
Yeah, yeah, we're all, you know, electric from all our, you know, our phones to, you know, every blender we use, and all our houses are running on electricity. We're just not producing it ourselves.
Right.
And I think if I can do it myself and my neighbor can do it next door, I think every house down the road along the way can all do the same thing.
Okay, well, let's go ahead and then and let folks know how long you've been off grid and what inspired you to become off grid. The stage is yours, my friend.
Sure. Well, so we moved off grid permanently 100% in April of 2019. And the inspiration actually came from a Chan Thomas book banned by the CIA in like the 50s that spoke of a pole flip and a possible, you know, cataclysmic event coming. And right. Maybe with the world losing power and going through some rough times for some time. And I was like, you know what? If we have the ability to sustain or, you know, withstand something to that effect,
right?
And why wouldn't I want to take the chance and the opportunity to do it? And the moment arose for us, and the opportunity arose, and so we jumped at it, and we found a plot of land that already had a cabin built on it, and they had it sold as off-grid, but it just wasn't connected to power.
Right.
So that's when we went ahead and moved right in right away, got a generator, and went to town, learned everything we could about solar, and then bought a system ourselves and had it all installed, and here we are, 100% off grid.
Well, on your channel, on Uncle Drunkle's Country Cabin, you know, you've got specific videos laid out. I don't know whether they're instructional videos per se, but you get a pretty good overview of how you're doing what you're doing there, and it's very organized. It's very tight. You know, the intro that we ran on this piece here this morning, which is Saturday morning, showcased all the bad things that can go wrong with electric and this push now. And the reason the question is, you know, can all of humanity go electric? There are some questions in regards to whether it's even feasible to think that power requirement, electrical power requirement, is even doable. So, you know, part of the reason having you on here too was to look at it at a bigger scale, because your one cabin, how many batteries do you have that sustain your electricity for the house, the cabin?
Sure. Well, to answer the last question first, 4 batteries. 4
Okay.
little lithium batteries sustain the whole house. But we just switched those out this past year from 16 lead acid batteries, not so dissimilar to what we would have in a car, although we were using golf cart style batteries. We made a jump in technology. It's a jump in cost as well, per battery, but you know, it's just higher technology. You get a lot more battery for your size, your capacity. So yeah, 4 lithium batteries runs this whole house. And these batteries are only about the size of a shoebox.
Okay. Is there a shelf life on them?
Yeah, so it all depends on how you're treating them. They're guaranteeing them under warranty for 5 years, although typically what people see out of these is about 10 years if you're beating them up real hard.
Right.
If you take them real easy, you could be looking at possibly 15 plus.
But I'm assuming if you're running an entire household off of them, you're beating them up pretty hard. You're using them all the time, right?
Well, so yeah, you're going to be using them all the time, nonstop. But the beating them comes from the way you're discharging and charging them.
Okay.
So long as what you want to try not to do is run a lithium battery down to zero. If you can keep it anything above zero, that extends the life a lot.
All right.
And then when you're charging it up, if you're not charging it at ultra high speeds to ultra high voltages, it tends to save the batteries for a lot.
Okay.
And that's just part of the way you're using them, and then the type of person who owns them and the knowledge they have. When we all do new things and try it for the first time, we tend to mess things up a little bit.
Boy,
So in that part, partially where we went with old school technology our first go around till we knew what we were doing with our system, then we went ahead and spent the money and get some nicer lithium batteries in there.
Nice. And your level of security, personal peace, confidence in your system is where?
Well, I'd say it's 90%.
Okay.
I've got one spot where I don't have redundancy.
Okay.
So we have redundancy built throughout the whole system and every step of the way except one area, and that's just we can't get a part, and we're waiting on a back ordered part, and that's an inverter. Yeah.
All right.
So, yep, we're limited to 4,000 watts of continuous inverter power. So we can run the microwave and AC and the well pump, but we can't be running everything in the house all at the same time. We've just got to pay attention to our loads and our power.
I understand. And in regards to redundancy, are there alternative modes of, if not at least power, at least for heating or other variables that might come into that kind of living?
Yeah, so what we did was the house came built with a wood stove built in. And
nice.
The way they insulated this place, a couple engineers had owned it, and they way overbuilt it. And they warned us, hey, when you start a fire in here, be careful, because you'll cook yourself out of the place, and they weren't kidding.
Right.
So we do have propane heaters, though, all combined about 50,000 BTU of propane heaters that are plumbed in through the propane. We got propane pipes throughout the walls here and some big propane tanks outside. And so if you don't feel like making a fire in the morning, you're getting lazy, you can just walk over and hit a button and turn the propane. You can cheat. Propane's not high tech. Anybody can put that right in.
You're talking to a guy who lives in an 8x12 fish house. I know the value of electric power and propane or heat, electric heat and propane heat, and the two are very different. One is a dry heat, and one is a wet heat.
Yes.
And so, like I said, part of the reason is to let people know that off-grid living and off-grid, they always want to put it in survival mode. It's not a survival mode. I mean, if things get bad here in America, it's going to become a survival mode. And this is where we're going to slide into next, and we can address all these simple questions, right? That I don't know, right? I don't know whether people have even thought about. So having you here is to kind of help me help other people together to make some intelligent, if not at least, wise decisions, at least some intelligent decisions. Right. Okay? So let me go ahead.
No, go ahead. Well, I think a lot of people just have never gone through a serious power outage and gone a week or two without power and all that entails. And haven't had a chance to experience, the pain in the butt that is no power for a few weeks. And, when they do, they'll start doing things to mitigate that.
Right. And you do live in the Northeast. I shouldn't have been so cavalier in telling people, well, I'm not going to tell you where he lives. Tell him where he lives. He's in the Northeast.
Yeah, we're in upstate New York.
Okay.
Yeah, we're
Very good.
upstate New York. We're in the Northeast. We're getting winter times.
Yeah, where the helicopters fly by.
Right, all the black ones.
Yeah. But the snipers don't get any better year to year, do they? Because you and I are both still here.
Yeah, no, they ain't got me yet.
They ain't got me yet either. Bad aim.
No.
But the point is this. Winters, especially in the Northeast and in the Midwest and the upper plains, which is Minnesota, and that's I can only speak from experience of Minnesota, is heat and power to heat is something that you don't want to mess around with. when we had this last blizzard, and I know you can give testimony as to that in your neck of the woods as well too, people will die, and they will die in the most unusual of places, like 2 feet from their front door, 10 paces outside of their car. You know, we just recently went through this blizzard where we got 2 feet of snow dumped on us, and people in the Twin Cities were dying. Not to mention the hundreds and every time it snows. And Kevin, I'm not exaggerating at all. Anywhere from 300 to over 1,000 collisions on the roadways in the metro. Every time it snows. Every time it snows. It happens.
Forget.
They just gotta go. And
just recently, when the Buffalo storm hit, I was shocked to hear how many people had died there.
Right.
And this is 2022, 2023, and and this is in a metropolitan area, with major police and ambulance presence, and
right,
like you said, they're dying outside their doors. So,
well, that's the other thing too, is people, if you're comfortable off grid, and you know what can possibly happen and how it's going to present itself to you. You hopefully have gone through some sort of preparation, so you're not at knocking at death's door because of what the elements and with the weather that's so out of control now. It's frightening, and I know you're secure where you are, and to give the same testimony too, we have backup propane. There's backup wood opportunities for heat, because if you lose heat during the winter where we live, you don't survive. You just do not survive.
Right. Have heat.
Right. So I guess
you're kind of quite a bit colder than ours here too.
Exactly. As we were saying before pre-offering, the first snow we see, well, no matter when it comes, if it comes in October, November, December, that's the same snow we'll see in May, because it never thaws. It never melts, ever. It would be an anomaly if it did. It would be odd. So, but we got tornadoes in the south in December, January, and I can hardly wait to see what February's bringing. Did you see that line of weather that came through the south?
I did, and I heard they might have tornadoes coming, and I saw this morning before I went to work, they got a bunch of some deaths out there over wind-related stuff.
Yeah.
I didn't see who got hit, though.
Alabama, Georgia, I believe. Alabama got hit. Selma, Alabama, of all places, got hit. So anyway, I don't know whether you can read this little panel that I put up in between the two of us here. But here, because a lot of people talk about, and let's dispel this notion of having a bug-out bag, right? If you live in the city, or even if you live in the country. But I think most of these bug-out bags and prepper kits, right, are for people who live in the city, who believe that they're going to be able to escape martial law, pandemonium, chaos and killing, death in the streets, and grab their little bag and go out in the woods and survive. Help me help others here, Kevin.
Yeah, I mean, I think that the things you're going to need to survive, you're not going to be able to get in the bag. It's going to be the knowledge you contain, and with the knowledge, you can make yourself 50 bags. And, I think the bag is a great camper's tool. I think it's a security blanket of sorts for people. But I also think it is a good reminder to stay prepared, and I think it's also great to have a few key things in some emergencies. But, yeah, I think that maybe knowing where to go and having things all set up that are, prepared ahead of time is a better idea than having, a knife and some fishing line in a bag.
Yeah, exactly. Well, the quickest question for anybody would be is, have you ever camped before? Because if you haven't camped, I help me here if I'm wrong. If they've never camped, their odds of survival under the worst case scenarios, and that's all we're talking about. This is not gloom and doom or any of that stuff, but you're talking about a country that's talking about eliminating, gas stoves in the houses, that has open borders where people are pouring in by the hundreds of thousands, if not millions, and there's a limit to all of this. And there just is. And people, and the possibility, pandemic and perhaps one on its way too. And then how you rationally, reasonably, calmly, right, deal with all those things. So, and people have to, we're all about self-examination, and just examining yourself, examining, your heart and why you're doing the things you're doing them, and can you change them or can you not? And some responsibility is required on an individual basis. So if you've never camped, then you should probably start camping to give you an idea of how you deal with the elements. That's number one.
Well, yeah, that's the thing. I think people got to start thinking ahead of time about, if we get some civil unrest and power goes out, what are you going to do long term if this is going to last more than 4 or 5 months even? And
Right.
if you don't have systems in place, you don't have a plan ahead of time, you don't have the materials you're going to need, you're not used to it, you don't have food, you don't have clean water stored or a place where you can get it, and then you're going to wait till the very end when things hit the fan to figure this out, and you're going to go just far enough to where everybody else is also going to go. I think it's just going to be problematic for a lot of the world if these things were to come to time.
Right. And unfortunately too, and we'll get back to the list here, but there are always possibilities, and here's why. I don't know if you have any military in your family or not, Kevin, or whether were you military?
Yeah, yep, U.S. Army.
Oh, okay. Well, most Americans don't. Were you active? Did you see combat?
Yeah. No combat.
All right. Americans have a tendency. My father was military, and I have a number of family members who are also military. So I grew up in a military household and home. So I understood a military perspective on life and how freedom was important and how defending that freedom was important and how, God, family, and country were supposed to be priorities. And with that military background, and you kind of have a blanket of security around you, at least as a small child growing up you did, and then you can take your own adult crazy random thoughts about what purpose the military serves and add them. But as a man camp code, it's a good thing to learn, to how to control a weapon and how to defend your own property at the very least. Now that's on the last of the list here was, are you trained to defend what you've got? And that's at the very end of this other list. But my point was, and tell me if I'm wrong here, but I believe that most Americans are spoiled in thinking that no one would ever attack the United States on our home ground.
I do think they're spoiled. I think it's a matter of time till that changes. I think it's been so long since it has happened, in any type of real war way,
right,
that they're all pacified, and I think it's coming. I don't know. I don't want to be a doomsdayer and saying, the Chinese are coming next month or anything like that, but it's just a matter of time. Nothing lasts forever, and in time all things change. So the British can't be the last ones that have ever done it. Somebody else is going to try,
The British, the Ottomans, the Romans, all the other civilizations that have come and gone, the dynasties. It just seems like it's America's turn. And like I said, I don't want to be a doom and gloomer, but at the same time, the harsh reality, and at any moment, I mean seriously, at any moment, if you looked out your window and saw people parachuting into your backyard, you have a decision to make.
Yeah, on a couple levels. One, like espionage, trespassing, personal freedom. Like, what is this guy about to do? Yeah, I'm not gonna say I wouldn't be shooting at somebody coming. I'm not shooting a parachutist out of the sky, but I'm not letting people just run up through the cabin either. So
right, and I'm not talking about.
Listening.
I'm not. And I'm not talking about a Red Bull exhibition parachutist who got a little off drift from landing in the middle of the football field at the 50-yard line. I'm talking about looking up and seeing about 400 or 500 parachutes dropping out of the sky, and then going,
with Chinese flags on them, I'm gonna get a little nervous.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So first, I think they should camp. They should spend a weekend camping, And do put and I agree with you, do have a bug out bag put together. I mean, I've got my travel bag, which is aside from where I live, which has everything I need in it to throw it in the truck or throw it on the motorcycle and get mobile for whatever reason. For whatever reason.
Yeah.
But
yeah,
I
think
have
a bag is a great thing to have.
Yeah, and
you
I
know,
have
all your bare necessities. Yep.
Right. I didn't put water on there, and I think water is, it's just an oversight on my part. You have to have secure, clean water somewhere. Otherwise, 3 days you're dead. I mean, I think you can go.
Well,
go ahead, Kevin.
Well, they make some purifiers. So water's real heavy and bulky to carry. It's a pain in the butt.
Right.
But they make purifiers that are essentially tube straws with a filter in the middle of it. You can shove in the dirtiest water and just suck out clean at the other end. Pain in the butt, but it prevents you from having to carry water everywhere you're going to.
Right.
A great thing to have with you in the bag.
Sure. And fortunately, here in America, there's not a shortage of water. I mean, people talk about the shortages of water, Mead and the Mississippi River, but those all fluctuate. They go up, they go down, they go up, they go down. But here in the land of 10,000 lakes, water and abundant snow and ice, water is the least of our worries.
Yeah, no, I've never seen water shortages anywhere in America that I've ever been to.
Right.
I've never lived in Flint, Michigan either.
Right,
but,
right.
And
Or
I don't drink the tap water anywhere, though.
Right.
I will say that.
Yeah, or Jackson, Mississippi, too. I know they have a water problem down there as well. Okay, let's move past the water thing here. A massive pantry. Do you have a massive pantry at your place?
We have a few different pantry areas. We do stock and store food. We're not hoarders with it. Right. I don't have 4,000 cans of beans and corn and everything else, but we do. If everything's shut down today, and I could go weeks with the food we have here, with just two of us, but I'd say at least a month with the food we have here, between all the different cans and everything. And we're running low right now. We have not been stocking up because things have been pretty chill.
I heard someone suggest too that you should. When I say you, I mean you, me, us, we all should have barterable items available on hand too.
Yeah, I think that's a great idea.
Something that you can trade that other people are going to be clamoring for, and the sin elements, the consumption sin requirements of human beings, right? Coffee, cigarettes, booze, all. Yeah, right. I mean, if you're under those spells of addiction, and a lot of people are, right? You better have something. Exactly, most.
Right.
You better have those things either stocked up or overcome them, or have something reasonable of equal value or greater value to be able to trade and barter for down the line. I mean, it's no small secret. People lose their minds if they couldn't get a cup of coffee in the morning. And you go on the silly social media, and there's a ton of people just bowing down to the idol of their coffee cup every day. I need coffee. I'm the queen of coffee. I coffee this, coffee that, coffee.
What's the combined value of Starbucks, Tim Hortons, and Dunkin' Donuts?
Oh, come on. Don't even get me started.
I mean, how much billions in revenue are they doing a year in America alone?
Well, and the thing that always makes me laugh is Starbucks, and I'm sure we're going to see it happen to many, many, many other huge corporate franchises and franchisee people who own them, is the unionization of all these people too. That their work as a barista is so difficult, they need a union. Now, that doesn't make any sense to me either, and we're kind of drifting off streams here, but all those things become silly, don't they?
It seems to be that, unions at one time were great for, preventing child labor law violations and things of that nature, but I think at this point in life, I haven't seen any sweatshops in America ever in my lifetime. I'm not knocking unions here, but do we need them? And if they're driving the workers out of the workforce, what good are they really?
Amen.
Yep.
Amen. Well, like I said, that's for an offering way down the road there. The other point I want to make sure I get through this list too here. And are you powered? And powered means mobile power. You got to make some sort of compensation, whether you're going to live on the inside of your vehicle, or whether you're going to do lean-to. You got to have some sort of power source, I would think. It really gets difficult after a while. But it's just something that
mobile.
Mobile power is tough.
Yeah, I don't have anything mobile power except for a bicycle.
Yeah,
I got an electric bike.
Yeah, we'll get to. Well, your cars are, your vehicles are battery powered. Have you driven an EV yet?
I have not. Have you seen those EV pickup trucks that have the in the back? When you open the tailgate, there's power outlets in there, and they're supplying some serious power, like a few different outlets at 30 amps a piece. Right. And they're running stuff for hours off the batteries because they're huge battery packs in these vehicles.
I understand. Listen, I don't think anyone is. I'm certainly not knocking the benefits of electric vehicles. I'm not. I think it would be culturally. It would be huge for Harley Davidson to go through that transition. I think it puts Harley Davidson out of business. Goldwing motorcycle riders, they'd be like, well, great, because our motorcycles don't make any noise anyway.
Right. Yeah, that's a different segment. Yeah, I couldn't even imagine a quiet electric Harley. That doesn't seem right to me. It's not a Harley. But yeah, I've never known Goldwing people to want to have a loud sounding bike either. They want the Cadillac of that motorcycle. So maybe for them.
Sure.
Honestly, for us, I don't think an electric car works. We have gasoline cars, and
okay.
I'm on the fence about ever getting an electric car just because it can possibly get turned off.
Well, that's the whole point. I mean, we have to think beyond the realm of what's right and what's wrong. And people always think, well, how? You know it, Kevin. You're constantly running into people who go, I don't know what's going on. How did this happen? Well, there have been tons of people trying to, warn and direct and educate and edify folks as to what to expect. And for a lot of us, we've seen a lot of these problems come down the parkway, and no one is surprised. No one. I'm not surprised. Yeah. I don't think you're surprised, right?
No, not at all. I mean, I think it's all going in a single direction. There's a flow to it. Everybody sees it. I think I just saw something, was it yesterday, about Biden had just signed some law about gasoline cars now have a kill switch built in after a certain year or something, was it?
Yeah. Listen, the model is California, and the power of California's economy gives them that freedom to do whatever they want to do. They don't care. This is my opinion. This is my opinion, but that's a pretty obvious observation that they just don't care. For the last 5-6 years, I've done this fruits and vegetable thing. After 30 years in show business, to be standing on the side of the road is quite a drop to hang up the tuxedos and bring out the flannel shirts and sweat and work 14, 15, 16 hours a day all summer long. But I've learned something. I've learned some things that I never would have learned in the other element. And that is, what we're talking about here, the power, the nutritional value of things, the very, bottom, lowest common denominator of existence, which turns us back into being a minimalist or an off-gridder or something like that. I know our dollar goes a lot further. I don't know whether I wrapped that up correctly or not. I probably left a dangling participle and a whole entire thought out there somewhere. So thanks for enduring old fisherman's rant.
No problem.
You ever traveled by the sun? Have you ever just gone and traveled by the sun? Do you ride motorcycle at all, Kevin?
I used to. I was a big motorcyclist for years, but had a good crash and never owned one after that.
I understand.
Yep.
Okay. You ever travel?
How about you?
Oh yeah, that's one of my great joys. That's one of my great abides is to go cross country motorcycle ride. When I was a young man out of college, I'm not going to tell you another elongated story because nobody wants to listen to me, especially when you're here. But I always wanted to go out west on a motorcycle. And I've had a motorcycle since I was... The reason I got a paper route was so I could buy a Briggs & Stratton 3.5 pull mini bike. And it cost $119.
With the long seat?
Yes. But it had a toggle switch light in front, and it had a horn, right? And it had a back tail light.
Yeah.
And it was blue. And it had foot pegs for the rider. Tell me. And you could go everywhere.
Right.
Plus, I grew up in Iowa. Even though we lived in Sioux City, which is a city, outskirts, you could take that mini bike anywhere.
Yeah, right.
Plus, when you're 12 years old, 10 years old, 11 years old, so what if the cops pull you over? I got pulled over plenty of times. You know what they told me every time? Go home. Oh, okay.
Put a helmet on.
Yeah, right. Okay.
Oh, probably no helmets back then. Right.
There were no helmets, and I still, to this day, 50 years later, refuse to wear a helmet. Because there's only two kind of motorcycle riders, too. Those that have gone down and those that are going down. And when I was learning, that guy told me that, and he said, just be prepared. You know, I was stunned when I got my first bike. I said, well, no, I'm not going to crash. He said, no, you're going to crash, and you're going to crash a lot. He said,
probably several times, right?
Yeah. He said, the only question is whether you'll survive them or not. You're going to crash. Right?
Yeah.
So
if you don't, you never really rode.
No, exactly. Yeah. Exactly. So I guess, once again, I lost my entire train of thought there. I'm so sorry. Oh, traveling by the sun.
By the sun.
Yes.
I don't know. I think the longest trip I ever took was just a planned out little 5-hour trip.
Right.
But never traveled by the sun.
Never get in your car and just head south and then turn left or turn right constantly, whether you're going east or west. You never. Well, you're on the East Coast, so I guess you'd have to head south and turn right, and just never really care.
No, I don't think I've ever really done that. No, I think I'm always just planning things too much.
It must be an old guy thing.
You're right. Yeah, I just got in a cutoff.
There's great fun in traveling by the sun. I mean, there's just really great fun in doing that because, once again, it gives you that sense of freedom, that sense of peace that is not hung on, the burden of travel or the burden of living or the burden of eating is not hung on you by someone else. And I don't, that just only makes sense to me that particularly men would want this position of freedom, no matter what it is. But those are the basics: food, housing, transportation.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. I think a lot of us do that as a kid naturally, and then we become adults and we start planning everything out all the time, and we stop traveling by the sun.
Right. Well, I would suggest that folks, if they're getting ready for something else to happen here in America, or just to make sure that they're polished themselves, so it won't be a shock to the system. I mean, it just would. And like I said, Kevin, there are too many red flags that are going up. This idea of getting rid of gas stoves in houses. What was the one you brought up that Biden was talking about doing?
Oh, putting kill switch in cars.
Kill switches in cars. Yeah, eliminating all of. California is big on having all electric by, I don't know what it is, whether it's 2030 or 2027, but it's not too far down the pipe. Well, all your common folks, me, you, us, we, may not necessarily have $50,000 to $100,000 to peel out for a brand new, or by that time, a 4-year-old electric car. Now, they're so new, I don't even know, is there a used electric car market yet?
There is, but they're still very expensive.
Right.
These aren't. You're not seeing $4,000 and $5,000 used electric cars, or $7,000 cars, nothing like that.
Right.
You're well into the 20s and 30s for a used Tesla or anything like that.
Exactly.
Don't quote me on it, but yeah, it's they're expensive.
They are expensive. Well, I give this witness and testimony too. Example, I had 3 electric car customers during the course of the summer. Well, these are people just pull up, buy, and drive away, right? First thing you notice about electric is they'll give you a heart attack because you can't hear them pull up. You can't hear them pull up. And people forget that whole sound thing with gas powered engines, muffled noise, because it's so loud. That combustion sound is so loud, it has to be muffled, i.e. a muffler.
Right.
On electric cars, I've turned around and they've been right there on top of me, and it's frightening. I mean,
the least they could do is pull up aggressively and make the tires make enough noise. You heard them coming, but these people are all nice about it, and they just barely scroll up with the thing, and you about die with a heart attack. I get it. Oh yeah, yeah. And I don't know what it takes to make them more aggressive, but we got to get a little more into them.
Yeah. Well, there were three customers that had one had a $250,000 Porsche electric, one had the Batwing Tesla, and one had just a normal run-of-the-mill. It wasn't a Tesla. Maybe it was a Chevy, or I don't know. But it was brand new, right? It was a 2022 when he got it. Price ranges, $50,000, $100,000, $250,000.
Yeah. Was the Porsche the high one?
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
And the Chevy was 50?
Uh-huh. Mm-hmm.
But was it a little teeny, like...
No. It was full sized, and it was nice.
Okay.
Like I said, the mechanics of inside of an electric car, and I've only stuck my head in those three cars. That's it. But there's so much room,
Yes.
And I don't know about you, but I like having a lot of room wherever I am, since my own parameters are so small. So. That's why I like old pickup trucks. I like trucks without computers on them. I don't buy anything that's over 2002 or 3 or 4 or 5 or whenever they started throwing in the computers, because they're big work trucks. The cabs are big, right? The beds are big.
Yep.
The payloads are bigger. They're stronger. They're better. And the whole idea of all that disappearing, that's a little disheartening. Not that you can't overcome it, right? But a little disheartening.
Do you really think do you think we'll get rid of internal combustion entirely here soon? Do you really think that's going to happen?
Well, that was my first question to you, whether it was even feasible to consider that not only, a country the size of the United States, or a country as creative as the United States, would go all electric and just throw everything else in the dumpster. I don't see that happening.
Well, okay. So I misunderstood the question. I don't mean we can get rid of all other forms. I think that, like, for instance, I think we could all throw panels in our house and make solar, and I think we could all
right. Okay.
Get a little electric car, for the most part. But I don't think that we can do this by switching everything over to electric. No, I don't think we're there. Not even close. Right. And won't be, if ever, for some long time to come. There's a lot of transportation that's happening by ships and by large, transport trucks, right, and, construction equipment and giant earth movers, and all that stuff needs to be these diesel engines, because that's where the infrastructure is set up, and that's where it's easy technology right now. And we can continue that very easily. We don't have the infrastructure or the materials, let alone the manpower or the businesses in place to support that, and electrical, using electrical loads.
Right.
It would take forever. It would take a long time to convert the world to full electric. But I think that anyone could throw panels into their house, and most people could possibly benefit from an electric vehicle. Most people could possibly benefit. Most people stand to benefit from an electric car.
Okay.
In some ways. But, to each, everybody's got different circumstances and stuff, and
right,
cost is another issue, and, what people can afford and what's available.
Sure.
And,
And that's what, through our own examples, I try not to be too dogmatic about any one particular position. And as a motorcycle rider, too, I have to come to the terms of whether I can live long enough to see it, that if they did get rid of all of the gasoline-powered motorcycle engines, would it be enough to be a deal breaker to get me off of motorcycles? No. I'm still going to ride.
Right.
So
right.
I think the same thing applies with everything else. That's the great thing about most, Americans, dare I say Christian Americans, is adaptability. To be able to say, oh, okay, take it away. You know, the president of Mastercraft Boats once said in a keynote speech, you know, they said, aren't you worried that all these other boat companies are copying your designs? And he said, no, because I can think them up faster than they can steal them.
That's great. Yeah,
it was great.
Advertisement.
Exactly.
Right.
He said, I'll just think up a new one. It doesn't matter to me. Well, they're gonna steal anyway.
It's a validation. I had a great idea.
Exactly. That's what he said. That's what he said. Right. He said, "Yeah, I'm good. I'm the tip of the spear, and I'll just think up something new." And that's what most Americans do. They're creative enough. They're innovative enough, and you just can't back an American up against the wall and force, you know, a big spoon of stupid soup down their throat. They're not going to eat it. You have to be reasonable, and you have to be calm, and you have to, you know, have these conversations like you and I are simply having, and then people can, you know, deduce on their own whether it's a viable option for themselves or what it is a viable option. Agreed or disagree?
100% agreed. Although I do think that there's a lot of influences out there that, you know, are at play trying to convince people one way or the other what's best for them or what might not be best.
Right.
That, you know, might be, you know, not necessarily telling the truth all the time, you know.
Right. And I know America's coming out of this big spoiled prosperous stage too, and I know people are burning through their 401ks and their savings accounts, and because regardless of what old Joe says, prices are out of control, just off the chain expensive. I mean, you're paying double for coffee. You're paying double, if not triple, for things. And if I see one more "how expensive eggs are" meme, I'm gonna puke. You know, we get it.
Remember, inflation's only up by 11% or 12 or whatever it is. But everything's double and triple. No, it's only 12%. Relax.
Yeah. Well, I don't even want to go into the poor elder folks, which I'm quickly moving into that category, are going to do once they're set. Once you've decided to quit, like I said, I don't see myself ever retiring altogether. I just, you know, as a man, I like getting up in the morning and knowing I'm going to go do something. That's what I'm supposed to do. That's what biblically I'm taught to do. Get up, go to work. Right. You know,
keeps you busy.
Yeah. And it's just what you're supposed to do. Is there anything? Exactly. You keep moving, you keep breathing, you keep huffing and puffing and sweating and going, and good things will happen if you're doing things the right way. I mean, that's all.
Opportunities don't pop up in your bed.
Amen, brother. That was good. Right. That was good. Anything, we're coming up on 2 more minutes before we get to the 45, and 45 is the max. I knew this was going to be great, Kevin. And this is a dumb, stupid list. And all I will do is tell people that if they're interested in more technical information about it, they can certainly go to your channel on YouTube, right, and get that information.
Yeah, absolutely. Yep, Uncle Drunkle's Country Cabin. Yep.
Perfect. Anything you want to cut?
So speaking of,
sure, go ahead.
Yeah. So speaking of motorcycles, I got a little pit bike, and I've been seeing these Surrons on YouTube. And my pit bike, it eats oil and it's greasy and it's got a chain I'm tightening and valves I'm always lashing up. And I tell you, I'd want to get rid of this little 4-stroke dirt bike I got and get one of them little electric Surrons.
And
when you got an off-grid cab,
it's not this, is it? Hold on.
It looks pretty close. If not, I think that would be it. Yep. Yeah. How do you not love not doing oil?
Hold on. Hold on.
Is this you on one?
No. He runs into a problem.
Oh. Yeah, that's gonna.
No, I'm good. I think so.
You're gonna want to shut that off.
Okay.
He got put on the hot seat.
He did get put on the hot seat. Sorry, I didn't check levels on that before I ran it. I just
Sorry.
pulled some video to throw at you, because you also you've got electric bicycles on your property, right?
In the house. Honey, get the bikes out of the house.
Nice.
Yeah, we've got. Yeah, so we keep them down in the basement. Concrete basement.
But you were always you were an ATV guy, right? Didn't you used to run your trails?
Yes. Yep, we bought a couple ATVs when we bought the place, but after 2 years of beating on them and towing logs everywhere,
right.
I got sick of fixing them and put them up for sale. And prices, because there was a shortage of machines nationwide, the prices were through the roof. And I sold them outright for about half what I paid for them, brand new.
Nice.
Almost 3 years down the road. So
very nice.
Yep. Now.
So what's the difference between an e-bike and a maybe it's the same thing. What am I thinking of? Do they call them? Are there different categories of these things? Because this thing was like a trail bike that this kid was on, and
that one you just showed.
Yeah.
So that's not really like an e-bike. That's like an electric dirt bike.
Okay. What's an e-bike?
Those are really powerful. An e-bike's more like what I've got. If you ever watch one of my bicycle videos, it's really a bicycle, like a mountain bike, with a battery and a motor put in the hub.
Okay.
But that thing you showed, that's a really like a more professional industrial motor with a big giant battery pack for riding dirt bike out in the woods.
Right.
That's the one I want there. But man, those things are a little expensive. And after watching it blow up like that.
Well, he might have, you know what he did? He took it, listen to this, and I know as a motorcycle rider or a car, any vehicle owner, you understand. He bought it brand new, took it out of the box, fired it up, ran it up to 41 miles an hour, which I'm pretty sure is top end, right?
Yep.
In cold weather, and it caught fire. He didn't break it in correctly, right? And he didn't. I don't even know that he ran or read the owner's operator. What's the word I'm looking for? The operator's manual. Yeah.
And you know, who knows what he did to it before, or maybe if he got it wet, I don't know. But man, I hate to have something like that catch fire on me.
Yeah.
For what it's worth, though, there's a new kind of lithium that's come out that doesn't have any of that thermal runaway.
Okay.
You can shoot these things and they're fine. They're inert.
Gotcha.
And that's the ones we actually just installed in the basement for the house.
Nice.
So hopefully we're a little bit more fire friendly.
Yeah, it's a big concern for everybody. And you know, batteries are tough to put out a battery fire, just like a grease fire, an oil fire. You can't put it out with water, can you?
No, I don't think you can use water. I don't know. Do you use the ABC extinguisher on it?
I don't know about batteries. Like I said, I know very little about batteries, other than what I have to do with them inside of my trucks and cars and motorcycles.
It's amazing how many devices we have that have them in them now.
Well,
the phones. Phones are all lithium, right?
Yep.
Yeah, a lot of stuff has them in it.
Yeah. So. Interesting. Plenty to Christian ponder, my friend. Plenty to Christian ponder. Hey, I got a couple of questions, kind of hot seat questions, and you don't. Once again, either yes, no, or whatever rolls off, or I'm not answering that. You're an idiot. You know, that's an appropriate response too. Okay. And then we'll say goodbye because I know we're right over the 1 o'clock button here. Who runs and rules this realm?
BlackRock.
Church or prayer closet?
Church.
Is Christianity offensive?
No.
Do space and time exist?
Sure seem to.
Do space and time exist?
They sure do seem to.
You're not gonna give me a yes no there, are you?
Yes. If I had to say yes, space and time exist. They do to me.
Okay. In regards to ourselves, what can we do? What can we do?
Stay prepared.
Okay. Do you believe in a biblical description of heaven and earth?
Man, guys, I don't know the Bible well enough, but
okay, let me put it another way then. Do you believe in the scientifically proven description and explanation of
not at all. No.
Of heaven and earth?
No. If I have to lean toward, no. I don't believe the science stuff at all. Yeah, no. I'm all with the Bible description of how this is working. I just don't know it well enough to say that I'm aligned. But I think that we have a creator that's definitely taking care of this ruling this system, and it's not a pop and a bang.
Cool.
No.
Very good.
Yeah.
So I try to stay away from that FE word as much as I possibly can because it denotes such nonsense and excuse me, tomfoolery. But I think that's where you and I first met years and years and years ago. You know, through the Book of Faces and our shared understanding of where we live, and then of course the more I got to know you, I just realized this guy's somebody you got to get to know because he ain't doing things like the common Joe down the street. And when push goes to shove, your wisdom and your advice is going to be sought after, like I'm seeking it right now for everybody else.
Thank you very much. I appreciate that.
You're more than welcome.
Don't forget those. Sometimes they lock us up.
Amen. Amen. Listen, Kevin, thank you for your time this morning. We went way over the 30-minute limits I normally put on this for guests, but that's because your content was so good. All the best to that other humanoid that lives with you and all of your dogs out there as well. You have a great lifestyle, my friend, and I hope the good Lord does keep you blessed and protected through whatever happens. And I look forward to future conversations down the line, Kevin. So thank you for doing this.
You're welcome. Thank you, I appreciate you having me.
Tell everybody where they can get in contact with you one more time if you want.
You can reach me through my YouTube channel. It's Uncle Drunkle's Country Cabin.
Perfect. Kevin, thank you for the time, my friend. I'm going to put you on mute. We will talk offline, all right? And we'll take it from there. All right, that's it, boys and girls. You just got to see good old Uncle Drunkle. And we'll take a short break here and then get back to what old Stinky, Margaret, and the Moose were doing, too. All right? And Margaret didn't even show up. Boy, did she miss out. And through the magic of television, we went all the way from the box to the studio loft. Well, it was nice to be able to interact with the chat. Kevin and I pre-recorded that conversation yesterday on Friday. And again, my thanks. The great thing about this is, and I always wanted to make this a fellowship deal and to bring it a step further and have folks be able to come on and share their testimony no matter what it is. Here's the important thing to remember, right? Everybody's on their walk, their spiritual walk, at a different place. That is a long, straight, narrow path. And there's a ditch on each side, and there are cliffs all over the place. But everybody's walk is different. And it's not up to you, me, us, we to get out that bony finger and tell them where they need to be. That's God's job. And I'm not doing God's job. So, obviously, this is the critical Christian crowd. Most, not all, believe in Jesus Christ as our Lord and Savior, know that he is the King of kings and Lord of lords. We know that, okay? Not everybody's there. So, like I said, seek peace and pursue it. The great part of this conversation, though, and you can see, I mean, you can tell, he's conversational, he's very wise on a number of topics. I was going over all the things we had covered. Listen, I don't script anything. I didn't even have any bullet points. I asked him if he could come on and share, and he was kind enough to do so on a very short notice. And things technically, other than that little distortion hum, which was my fault, went swimmingly. So I thank him for doing that. But we talked about motorcycles and unions, the New World Order, World War III, bug out bags and their effectiveness of them. And, inflation, deflation, e-bikes, all this stuff that's coming. And it's not even coming, it's here. Here's a little bit of wisdom that I did. Well, there were little beautiful nuggets of wisdom that Kevin offered. But one of the big ones that's applicable as to what's happening right now is, regardless of where you are or what you think or what you feel about EVs and everything going electric, it would be wise of us to at least have one form of transportation that's electric. Might I suggest that be an idea for you, me, us, we. Like the BIBLE says, who can stop the beast? Ain't gonna stop it. Now, you don't have to lay down and worship to the altar of what's coming. And we certainly don't suggest that. But you do have to, like someone in the chat had said too, the Lord will provide. But it's like that old joke goes about the woman whose house was flooded, and the canoe came by and said, "Get in, your house is flooded." And she said, "No, the Lord's going to provide for me." And the waters got a little higher, and she went up to the top floor and opened the window, or the fire truck came first to get her, and she wouldn't go. Then a canoe came by, and she wouldn't go. She went to the roof. A helicopter came, she wouldn't go, and then the waters took her over, and she drowned and died. And she's at the gates of St. Peter saying, "Well, I thought the Lord was going to take care of me." And St. Peter said, "Yeah, he sent you a fire truck, a canoe, and a helicopter, and you didn't get in. Welcome aboard." But that's the whole point. You gotta be wise in these times. And Kevin is obviously very calm and very secure and at peace. So I wish him well. And I invite all of you to go over to his channel, UncleDRUNKLE's, and just as a case of point here, I've known Kevin for about 6 years, coming into 7 years. I've never seen him anywhere drunk. So the UncleDRUNKLE, I'm pretty sure, is wordplay. I could be wrong. But it's clever. And it certainly gets people's attention. And it got my attention, and I hope you enjoyed him this morning. So it's Saturday. We are way, 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 way over the button. So let me go in the chat here real quick. There he is right there. So, Kevin, thank you very much this morning. The chat held strong. There was a lot of great conversation. I know some people have got some questions for you in regards to cost. I don't know whether you want to address that here in this chat or whether you can invite them over to your channel and you can address it on yours. But anyway, and I know that's kind of personal to ask, well, how much did that cost you? But cost is always a factor. I was sharing, I think Tony brought it up too, that most people, I mean, my observations are, and my little anecdotal witness would be that most people have either been reduced to zero and then been, through the help of the Lord, been able to build back on their own, not their own, but with the help, and do it differently. Do it the other way from what the world says to do it. Get a mortgage your life to death. And then when you get that big expensive house, we're going to tax you on top of that. Well, don't do that. Do something different. Why, there was so much good stuff in there too. He talked about the big diesel engines, and I'm pretty sure they'll be able to do the trade out, the rollout with the semi trucks. But here's a couple of things that they won't be able to do in regards to power and electric power. And those are the big diesel engine trains, right? Now, I know they're electric trains. They go around the Christmas tree. But those are big diesel engines. And all of your shipping barges that move all those big cargo ships, those are all diesel engines. Those are big, powerful, strong, gas-sucking diesel engines. Ain't no sailboats pushing those heavy boxes up the river. Anyway, that was that. I think I'm just rambling now. Okay, so thank you very much, Kevin. Mrs. E, good to see you. True Story Live's in here this morning. Nice. PK, otherwise known as Ed. Nice to see you, my brother. Dan Weston from the West Coast. Margaret, music. Not here. Boy, is she going to be upset that she missed a handsome young man. She's just a cookie jar, and she didn't even come into work today. What's wrong with that thing? Mr. Forrester, good to have you here this morning. Trish is in this morning. Nice to see you as well. I always forget somebody. West Coast Watchman was in early. Hopefully hung around to the end. AJ Blunt was in this morning. Marlboro Man. Yeah, a couple of the old countries. I'm wondering where our old friend Say No to Green Eggs and Ham, Soylent, is at. MIA. They come, they go. I hope he's not gone for good, or she's not gone for good. One day we're going to do a roll call in the chat room for sex and geography. And don't give me one of them 5,700 binary things. Too much fun. And yeah, we're sour apples. I'm going, who knows? It's a wild, wicked, crazy realm out there. All right, buddy. Very good. Well, I'm going to render this thing out. I think the chat stays open for about 45 minutes or an hour after I render it out. I think it does. Anyway, they know how to get in touch with you, and thank you again. It was just great. It was wonderful. All right, that's all. So may the peace, joy, love, grace of our Lord and Savior Jesus Christ be with you this day and every day. Thank you much, saints. Thank you, Kevin. God bless you all. Bye-bye, everybody.
Wonderful, magical, celestial light, fantastical, mystical, wonderful sight. Belgian Swiss physicist Auguste Picard, 1931, first to reach for the stars, was the first to explore the air view stratospherius, a scientist curious to see what was there. An aluminium black ball on a helium balloon, hydrogen with photos and instruments, sailed towards the moon, rose in just half an hour, 52,000 feet, 10 miles up, 10th air pressure, up a dead traffic heat and cold, but disproving gravity. Wonderful, mystical, beautiful sight, flat line separation of black from blue light, a world run by deceivers, false make-believers, hiding in shadows, stealing our light. Mystical, fluorescent light, wonderful, magical, awesome, yes, stealing our light. Wonderful, let there be light, supernatural, eternal, luminous, up we go. Higher than rainbows, higher than mountains, above cumulonimbus is higher than air. High level horizon, 360 around us, but right round behind us, any height that you dare. The sun and the moon both revolve around us, to forever short time pass intelligently there. You'll never beat us, you'll never defeat us, no more you deceive us, we keep you like air. Kipper and Picard were the first ever known to reach up there. Divine luminescent light, mystical, wonderful, celestial light. So what was their eternal testimony? What did they report back to humanity? Said it seemed like a flat disk far as eyes can see, with an upturned edge fading into infinity. A mystical, ethereal, celestial sight, a divine creation, a clockwork of light, designed hid by deceivers and false make-believers, still cowering in shadows, still fearing our light. Here we go, higher than Everest, higher than just a forever short time as geometric beat. You'll never beat us, you'll never defeat us, forever beneath us. We see through you like air, mystics of the luminous light, fantastical, magical, bright. We see through you like air, magical, angels of light, beautiful, wonderful, celestial light. The first to see truth when they reach for the stars, explorers and physicists, Kipper and Picard.
The heavens declare your glory, and I will do the same. The skies proclaim the work of your hands, and I will do the same. And I will sing, and I will shout, and glorify your name. All of creation testifies, I will do the same. The mountains bow down before your throne, and I will do the same. The trees of the fields clap their hands, and I will do the same. And I will sing, and I will shout, and glorify your name. All of creation testifies, and I will do the same. Oh Lord, I will sing, and I will shout, and glorify your name. All of creation testifies, and I will do the same. Grace falls down like a river from your wounded side, and I will sing to the giver of life. And I will sing, and I will shout, and glorify your name. All of creation testifies, I will do the same. Oh yeah. And I will sing, and I will shout, and glorify your name. All of creation testifies, and I will do the same. The heavens declare your glory, and I will do the same.
I'm gonna tell you about the coming of the judgment. Fare thee well, fare thee well. I'm gonna tell you about the coming of the judgment. Fare thee well, fare thee well. There's a better day a coming. Fare thee well, fare thee well. There's a better day a coming. Fare thee well, fare thee well. In that great getting up morning. Fare thee well, fare thee well. In that great getting up morning. Fare thee well, fare thee well. When you see the lightning flashing, fare thee well, fare thee well. When you hear the thunder crashing, fare thee well, fare thee well. When you see the stars are falling, fare thee well, fare thee well. And when you hear the
chariots calling, fare thee well, fare thee well. In that great getting up morning, fare thee well, fare thee well. In that great getting up morning, fare thee well, fare thee well. When you see the lightning flashing, when you hear the thunder crashing, when you see the stars are falling, when you hear the chariots calling. Good news, chariots are coming, good news, chariots are coming, so glad, chariots are coming, and I don't want to be left out.
Well, there's a long white robe in the heaven, I know.
Long white robe in the heavens, I know. Long white robe in the heavens, I know. I said good news, chariots are coming, good news, chariots are coming, so glad, chariots are coming, and I don't want to be left out. In that great getting up morning, fare thee well, fare thee well. In that great getting up morning, fare thee well, fare thee well. In that great getting up morning, fare thee well, fare thee well. In that great getting up morning, fare thee well, fare thee well, fare thee well. Fare thee well, fare thee well, fare thee well. In that great getting up morning, fare thee well, fare thee well. In that great getting up morning, fare thee well, fare thee well. In that great getting up morning, fare thee well, fare thee well. In that great getting up morning, fare thee well, fare thee well, fare thee well.
Thanks a lot for searching that out. I appreciate that. Fisherman in the Box. Fisherman in a Box.